warehousing and operations as a career. I hope you've had a great week and your endeavors were found very, very fruitful. Last week we discussed how to get started in warehousing and a bit about the difference between a job and a career. Let's expand on that subject for just a moment or a bit. Now, my thoughts are that any position can be a career. A great example is a very close friend of mine, a co-worker and employee for like 22 years, has made forklift driving his career. He and I drove Heister counterbalance lifts and set-down lifts back in the late 80s. I guess it was probably around 87, 88 together. As the company grew and shifted to narrow aisles and brought in a reach lift, he transitioned onto the stand-ups and became very, very proficient. Probably one of the top 3 lift drivers that I know of. He's always loved his job, comes in smiling every morning, and genuinely loves what he does. In my eyes, he has one of the more successful careers of anybody that I know. He enjoys his job. He's one of the best in the profession. It's been great for his family, and the company is really proud to have him on board. He has, of course, been offered many other positions and promotions over the last 30 years, but he is more than just happy. He is a professional, and I'd call that a great, solid career. I think any job that you excel at, enjoy, and meet your financial requirements is a good career. I feel operations, particularly in the distribution field, is definitely a life choice. It can be rewarding and challenging and offers many avenues for advancement. There's so many tasks and positions in ops that you can stay challenged and learning. The learning just never stops. And if that's what you're interested in. If not, every position can be your career. Of course, like every profession, those advancement opportunities require dedication, a desire to continue learning, a positive attitude, and willingness to get the job done. That's one of those opinions I really kind of stand behind. You know, we're at work as much, if not more, than we're at home, so I feel an enjoyable job, that's the perfect career. Well, let's get on to this week's topics, or a couple of them anyway. Let's talk about some of the regulatory components of operating light industrial equipment, some standard general maintenance practices or GMPs of warehousing, and a few SOPs or standard operating procedures that every warehouse should be using in its day-to-day operations. Now, understand your particular facility may not be using or following any structured preferred work methods or PWMs, but rest assured that they're real and they are needed in order to control expenses, produce a culture of safety on the floor, and you'll need to know them to move up within the ranks of your organization. I promise if you go to the floor talking the talk, know and understand a few key words and live by these principles, you will succeed and impress your executive management team. Okay, so now let me share some of my thoughts on a couple of these subjects. Let's start with 29 CFR 1910.178. If you operate any type of powered industrial equipment, you should probably know what that means. That's the OSHA reg that basically states that every operator has been to a structured class on powered industrial equipment and has been on-sited at the physical facility and deemed fit to operate one or more types of equipment. I'd like to emphasize, no matter what anyone else tells you, do not ever operate any powered equipment you have not been trained on and certified to do so. Don't get on an electric rider pallet jack, use a walkie jack, or attempt to move any type of powered equipment, even an inch, without the training and being on-sited by a qualified trainer who has certified you to do so. It's dangerous to begin with, and it's against pretty much every working PWM or preferred work method that I know of. If you have not been given the classroom training or on-sited at your facility, reach out and contact me, and I can put you in touch with a qualified trainer that's in your local area. It's very, very inexpensive and will increase productivity while reducing injury and loss. I assure you, your management will be impressed with your knowledge on the subject, or at least should be. This brings to mind one of my pet peeves. Believe it or not, there are companies out there that advertise something like $99 pallet jack and forklift training. The way it works is you pay them $99 and they have you sit in a classroom for a few hours, then give you a few minutes on a piece of equipment and hand you a certification card and send you on your way with the impression you're going to be able to get a forklift position paying the same as an experienced operator. Those jobs pay those rates that they do because of the experiences the driver has had, and that experience reduces the training time required for the position and produces a safe work environment. You'll get there, I promise, but you'll almost always need some experience. Almost every employer will be certifying you for free and on-site you to their facility if your position requires use of the equipment. So please don't spend your hard-earned money unless you can be told exactly what it's getting you. I'm not saying these companies bring no value. All safety training is needed and helpful, but know and understand what you're paying for. Like I've said, I've heard that there's a few of them out there that leave the impression that you will be hired and making X number of dollars the very next day, and I just don't believe that that's the norm. Okay, let's get back to last week's discussion. Some of the stuff we talked about, it's really only experience using the equipment will get you where you want to go. There just aren't any shortcuts. Most facilities will require at least 6 months with a particular kind of equipment to give you a shot in the production environment. And of course, that's the environment that pays the bigger bucks. That's what we're all chasing. I won't rant any longer, but my advice is to stay far away from any get-it-quick situations. They're just not out there. Okay, off my soapbox, and let's talk in general about GMPs or general maintenance practices. Simply put, GMPs are practices required in order to conform to the guidelines recommended by agencies that control or oversee the sale of food products, drug products, and work environments, as well as several other regulated industries. Many companies get very detailed here, and you'll find they may be the much more organized, clean, and proficient than the ones that only write down and document the bare minimums. Since we've been discussing positions in the food service distribution arena, let's speak to a few that's used in that industry. The FDA and USDA will be the two primary agencies that you'll be hearing about, along with your local and state government agencies. Your facility may utilize third-party companies such as AIB or BRC to come in once or twice a year to perform like a mock audit. This is a good thing as it prepares you for or helps identify any deficiencies that might be present before the scheduled or surprise visit by any other agency. They're being paid to train you and give you a grade so that you know you're doing or how well that you're doing as an organization. Don't be afraid of any of these regulatory agencies, but do respect them. They will be very informational and very fair with you. They're there to ensure our food and drug products are safe and wholesome, and they work hard to hold us to those high standards. We'll discuss companies like AIB and BRC a little more in depth in another episode, but they're great partners and can teach us a lot about resources and guidelines. If you're not part of the responsible teams involved with audits or preparing for audits, get with your management team and let them know that you're interested in helping out in that area. It's all about learning and getting noticed, right? Let's talk about some pretty standard GMPs that are probably in place and documented at every warehouse facility. I say documented as that's 90% of what GMPs are. It's the stated policy and then documented that it's been explained to you and then documented that those rules are being followed. Your company should or probably has covered a few general things with you, and probably you had to sign a sheet or paper listing the do's and the don'ts, if you will, such as no gum chewing or using mints or candy in the warehouse. That's a pretty standard one. No glass containers outside of the break room. No sodas or sugary drinks on the warehouse floor. No personal jackets outside the locker room. No lunch containers outside the lunch room. Another real important one is clean up spills of any kind immediately. Do not place boxes on the floor. Always utilize pallets. That's kind of warehouse 101 everywhere. Cover any cuts or scrapes with a bandage. Smoking in designated areas only. Oh, this is a good one. No spitting in the warehouse, including the trash cans. Segregate damages in the specified areas. You kind of get the idea. I'm sure these are among the list at your facility, and they can include many others depending on the regulatory needs of your particular facility or situation. If you have not been presented with this kind of documentation, again, it's a good knowledge to share with your management, as GMPs are important to ensure a well-ran facility. SOPs, or standard operating procedures, are a great tool to aid in productivity and safety. Simply put, It is an outline of how to perform the job. They can be very general or quite in-depth and very detailed. Again, in the food service distribution arena, you may have been presented an SOP sheet as an order selector to sign something like states arrived to work on time and dressed for work wearing all required PPEs or personal protective equipment. PPEs, that's a great subject, and we'll be making another episode out of that a little bit later. Proceed to the equipment charging area, retrieving your assigned jack and performing your pre-trip inspection of the equipment. Sign into your selection equipment and pull your first batch down. Proceed to the first slot and complete your batch. Stage and wrap pallets at the assigned door. Proceed to the empty pallet area and retrieve pallets. And then, of course, pull down your second batch and proceed to its completion. Of course, that's a real quick example, but you kind of get the idea. The procedure should be written and reviewed with each employee for each task and then documented. Many SOPs may state how damages will be handled, how equipment will be signed out, or how particular incidences should be recorded. Again, it's all about documentation. Properly having and documenting all safety procedures are very important as well, from general safety rules to exactly describing the procedures for cleaning spills, properly lifting product and procedures for stacking pallets and controlling walkways. Pre-trip and post-trip inspections of equipment, that's a good one, and lockout-tagout program, that's another great example. If your facility is lacking any strong GMPs or SOPs, bring your ideals to your management team. They'll recognize and appreciate your interest, or they should. After all, that's what we're after, right? Being noticed and making the next step to reach our goals. Well, we hit on a lot of topics today and gave you a lot of keywords that you should think about tossing around or looking into. Check them out and get familiar with them. What you read and what you learn is knowledge to move even closer to the goals that you set for yourself. Thanks again for visiting with WAOC today. I hope you found today's talk interesting and picked up a few ideas, and that the subjects can help you with your career path. I'd suggest you check out more information at USDA.gov and FDA.gov, AIBonline.org, or brcglobalstandards.com, and of course OSHA.gov if you'd like to know more about anything we may have briefly touched on today. They're all important organizations and can help you in your careers. I'd like to ask you to like our page and follow us if you find any value in our podcasts. And please feel free to give us any suggestions, leave comments, or request specific topics that you'd like me to look into or talk about. Next week, we're going to try and visit with a recruiter specializing in the light industrial positions, and she'll share with us what she's looking for in a good resume and what she likes seeing during the interview process. I believe it's going to be a great and informational show, and I'm really looking forward to it. Have a great week, and as always, be safe out there.